A white flight attendant publicly accuses a black man of stealing a first-class seat and threatens to have him arrested, but she has no idea he is a federal air marshal with the authority to ground her entire flight. I don't care what fake boarding pass you printed at home. You need to get out of first class before I call security to remove you. Her voice cut through the cabin like a whip, and every passenger in first class turned to watch as she grabbed his carry-on bag and threw it into the aisle, the thud echoing through the shocked silence. Marcus Reynolds felt his jaw tighten, his hands gripping the armrest as he forced himself to remain calm, even as humiliation burned through his chest and every eye in the cabin stared at him like he was a criminal. Jennifer Walsh stood over him with her arms crossed and her chin raised, her perfectly styled blonde hair catching the overhead light as she radiated the confidence of someone who'd spent 15 years as a senior flight attendant and believed she was untouchable. What she didn't know was that the badge hidden in Marcus's jacket pocket could end a career with one phone call, and in exactly 8 minutes, she would desperately need the skills of the man she was trying to humiliate. There's been a mistake. Marcus kept his voice level, professional. This is my assigned seat. 2A, I can show you my confirmation. I've seen enough fake confirmations to know one when I see it. Jennifer's eyes raked over him. His jeans, his Howard University hoodie, his sneakers. First-class passengers don't dress like that. The words hung in the air. Like what? Marcus asked quietly. You know exactly what I mean. She pulled out her scanner. I'm checking the manifest, and when it shows this seat belongs to someone else, you're going to be escorted off this plane in handcuffs. Marcus pulled out his phone. The confirmation is right here. Seat 2A. Marcus Reynolds. Paid in full. Jennifer barely glanced at it. Anyone can fake a screenshot. It's not fake. So, I'm going to need you to stop arguing with me and move to the back of the plane where you belong. A white woman in seat 3C spoke up. Excuse me, but I saw him board with a first-class ticket. The gate agent scanned it. Jennifer spun on her. Please don't interfere with crew operations. I'm not interfering. I'm telling you what I saw. And I'm telling you to mind your business. Jennifer turned back to Marcus. Last chance. Move voluntarily or I'm calling the captain. Marcus took a slow breath. He'd been a federal air marshal for 12 years. He'd faced armed hijackers, diffused potential terrorist situations, and protected thousands of passengers without them ever knowing he was there. And now he was being threatened with removal from a plane because a flight attendant decided he didn't look like he belonged in first class. But this was only the beginning. Call the captain. Marcus's voice was calm. I'd like to speak with him. Jennifer's eyes flashed with triumph. Oh, you're going to regret that. She picked up the intercom. Captain Morrison, we have a situation in first class. Passenger refusing to comply with crew instructions. Requesting your presence. While they waited, Jennifer made a show of standing in the aisle, blocking Marcus's seat, making sure every passenger knew there was a problem. This is exactly what's wrong with these premium cabins, she said loudly enough for everyone to hear. People gaming the system, using miles they didn't own, sitting in seats they can't afford. I paid for this seat, Marcus said evenly. Sure you did. An older black gentleman in seat 4B stood up. Young man, I'm a witness to this. She's harassing you without cause. So, sit down, Jennifer snapped. I will not. I've been flying for 40 years, and I've never seen a passenger treated this way. Then you haven't been paying attention. Captain David Morrison emerged from the cockpit. He was white, mid-50s, with silver hair and the bearing of someone who'd been flying commercial jets for decades. What's the problem, Jennifer? This passenger is in a seat that doesn't belong to him. He's refusing to move. Captain Morrison looked at Marcus. Sir, may I see your boarding pass? Marcus handed it over. The captain studied it, then pulled out his tablet and checked the manifest. His expression changed. Jennifer, this passenger is exactly where it's supposed to be. Seat 2A. Marcus Reynolds. Paid first-class ticket. Purchased 3 weeks ago. Jennifer's face flushed. That's impossible. I checked the system. You didn't check anything. You made an assumption. The captain's voice was cool. Mr. Reynolds, I apologize for this disruption. Please make yourself comfortable. Thank you, Captain. Jennifer's mouth opened and closed. But his dress like a paying customer who can wear whatever he wants. Captain Morrison fixed her with a stern look. We'll discuss this after the flight. Return to your duties. As the captain disappeared back into the cockpit, Jennifer turned to Marcus with barely concealed rage. Don't get comfortable, she hissed under her breath. I'm watching you. What she didn't know was who else was watching. Marcus settled into his seat, but the humiliation still burned. Around him, passengers whispered. Some looked sympathetic. Others looked away, embarrassed to have witnessed the scene. The older gentleman from 4B leaned forward. Son, are you all right? I'm fine, thank you. What she did was wrong. Blatantly wrong. I appreciate that, so. I'm Howard Mitchell, retired attorney. He handed Marcus a card. If you want to file a complaint, I'd be happy to serve as a witness. Marcus took the card. Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. As the plane prepared for departure, Jennifer moved through the cabin with a tight smile, serving drinks and snacks to the first-class passengers. When she reached Marcus, she set down a plastic cup of water, the kind they gave out in economy, while she poured champagne for the passenger across the aisle. Can I get you anything else? Her voice was syrupy sweet, but her eyes were cold. I'm fine. Let me know if you need anything, within reason. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Marcus said nothing. He'd filed away every detail of this interaction, every word, every action, because whether Jennifer knew it or not, she'd just committed a federal offense. Discrimination against passengers was serious. Discrimination witnessed by a federal air marshal was career-ending. But Marcus wasn't ready to reveal who he was. Not yet. 20 minutes into the flight from Atlanta to Los Angeles, Marcus noticed something odd. Jennifer kept disappearing into the galley. Each time she emerged, she looked more agitated. The other flight attendant, a younger woman named Amy, seemed nervous, constantly checking her phone. Something was wrong. Would you have stayed quiet in Marcus's position, or spoken up immediately? Marcus's training kicked in. His eyes scanned the cabin, looking for threats, anomalies, anything out of place. That's when he saw it. A man in seat 8C, white, early 30s, wearing a business suit, kept glancing at his watch. His hands were shaking. His jaw was clenched. And when he caught Marcus looking at him, he quickly looked away. Marcus had seen that behavior before. Nervous, guilty, hiding something. He pulled out his phone and sent a coded text to the Federal Air Marshal Service Operations Center. Possible situation developing. Flight 447. Monitoring. The response came immediately. Stay alert. Support en route if needed. Marcus watched the man in 8C stand up and head toward the bathroom. As he passed, Marcus caught the scent of something chemical. Sharp, acrid. His pulse quickened. 10 minutes later, the man returned to his seat. But he wasn't alone. He was whispering to the passenger next to him, a woman in her 20s with a backpack clutched in her lap. Marcus's instinct screamed danger. He stood up, intending to move closer to assess the threat. That's when Jennifer appeared, blocking his path. Sir, please return to your seat. We're experiencing some turbulence. There was no turbulence. I need to use the restroom, Marcus said. The seatbelt sign is on. It wasn't on 5 seconds ago when that other passenger used it. Sir, I'm not going to ask you again. Sit down. If only she knew who she was talking to. Marcus lowered his voice. I need you to listen very carefully. I'm a federal air marshal. I need to move through this cabin. Now. Jennifer's eyes narrowed. You're what? A federal air marshal. My credentials are in my jacket. I need you to step aside. Oh, this is rich. Jennifer laughed, actually laughed. First you fake a boarding pass. Now you're claiming to be a federal agent. I'm not claiming anything. I'm telling you a fact. Show me your badge then. Marcus hesitated. Protocol dictated that air marshals remain covert unless absolutely necessary. Revealing his identity compromised not just his flight, but future operations. But the situation in 8C was escalating. I can't show you my credentials in front of passengers. But I need you to trust me. Trust you? Jennifer's voice rose. You've been lying since the moment you boarded this plane. Other passengers were staring now. The man in 8C glanced their way, then quickly looked down. Marcus made a decision. He pulled Jennifer aside into the galley and showed her his badge. Federal Air Marshal Service. Marcus Reynolds. Photo ID. Serial number. Jennifer's face went white. You actually. I tried to tell you. Now listen carefully. I have reason to believe there may be a threat on this aircraft. I need you to alert the captain without causing panic. What kind of threat? I don't know yet, but I need to investigate. Can you do that? Jennifer nodded, her earlier bravado completely gone. Marcus moved through the cabin, his senses on high alert. He passed 8C, noting the nervous man and his companion. The woman's backpack was partially open, and Marcus caught a glimpse of something inside. Wires. Plastic containers. His blood ran cold. He continued past them, not wanting to alert them to his suspicion, and made his way to the back of the plane where he could observe without being obvious. That's when Amy, the younger flight attendant, approached him. "Are you the Air Marshal?" she whispered. Marcus tensed. "How did you know?" "Jennifer told me. Listen, there's something you need to know. That woman in 8D, I saw her in the bathroom earlier. She was assembling something. When I knocked to check on her, she got hostile, told me to go away." "Did you see what she was assembling?" "No, but—" Amy pulled out her phone. "I took a photo of what she left behind in the bathroom. I thought it was trash, but now I'm not sure." She showed Marcus the photo. Wire clippings. A small battery. Instructions written in code. "How long ago was this?" Marcus asked urgently. "Maybe 15 minutes. Marcus's mind raced. 15 minutes, which meant whatever device she was assembling might already be complete. He needed to act, but he needed to be smart about it. He pulled out his phone and sent another message to operations. "Confirmed threat. Flight 447. 2 suspects. Possible IED. Requesting immediate support upon landing. Do not approach suspects until I give signal." Then he turned to Amy. "I need you to do exactly as I say. Go to the cockpit. Tell the captain we have a code red situation. Tell him not to deviate from course, not to make any announcements. Just continue as normal. Can you do that?" Amy nodded, pale but determined. As she headed to the cockpit, Marcus positioned himself where he could watch both suspects. But here's the part that changed everything. The captain's voice came over the intercom. Calm. Professional. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be starting our descent into Los Angeles a bit earlier than planned due to air traffic. Please return to your seats and fasten your seat belts." Good. The captain was getting them on the ground as quickly as possible without alerting the suspects. Marcus watched the woman in 8D. She was clutching her backpack, nervous, waiting. The man in 8C checked his watch again. They were on a timeline. Marcus's phone buzzed. A message from the captain. "FBI and bomb squad standing by. ETA to ground. 12 minutes. Can you contain situation until then?" Marcus replied, "We'll attempt. If suspects move toward cockpit or attempt detonation, I'll intervene." He slipped his hand into his jacket, fingers finding the grip of his service weapon. He didn't want to use it, but he would if necessary. The plane began its descent. 8 minutes to landing. The woman in 8D stood up. Marcus tensed. She moved toward the front of the plane, backpack in hand. Marcus followed, keeping distance, staying casual. She stopped at the first-class galley, right where Jennifer was preparing for landing. "Excuse me," the woman said. "I need to use the restroom." "The seatbelt sign is on. You'll need to return to your seat." "It's an emergency." "I'm sorry, but—" The woman's hand moved to her backpack. Marcus saw it in slow motion, her fingers finding the zipper, opening it, reaching inside. He moved. In 3 strides, he was behind her, his hand clamped on her wrist, stopping her from pulling whatever was in the bag. "Federal Air Marshal, don't move." The woman froze. The cabin erupted in gasps and screams. The man in 8C jumped up, but Marcus was ready. Sir, sit down. Now. The man's hand moved toward his jacket. Don't, Marcus warned, his voice deadly calm. Whatever you're reaching for, leave it. Federal agents are waiting on the ground. Your operation is over. For a long moment, nobody moved. Then the man slowly raised his hands. Marcus kept his grip on the woman's wrist while using his free hand to grab her backpack. Inside, a crude explosive device. Wired, ready, but not armed. They'd been waiting until the plane was in the air before activating it. Probably planned to detonate during the flight. Captain, Marcus said into his phone, I have both suspects contained. One device secured. Requesting immediate law enforcement upon landing. Copy that. Landing in 4 minutes. What Jennifer didn't know was that her humiliation of Marcus had almost cost everyone their lives. The FBI swarmed the plane the moment it touched down. Agents in tactical gear boarded, securing the suspects and the device. Marcus handed over both suspects and the improvised explosive, his adrenaline finally starting to fade. The passengers were evacuated slowly, carefully, while bomb technicians swept the entire aircraft. In the terminal, Marcus was debriefed by federal agents. The suspect, domestic terrorist planning to bring down the plane as a political statement, were taken into custody. The device would have killed everyone on board if it had been detonated. As Marcus finished his statement, he saw Jennifer standing by the gate, talking to FBI agents. Her face was pale. Her hands were shaking. She kept glancing at Marcus. When the agents finished with her, she approached him. You saved everyone, she said quietly. Marcus said nothing. I need to apologize for how I treated you, for not believing you, for... She swallowed hard. For being racist. You think... Marcus's voice was flat. I made assumptions based on how you looked, on what you were wearing, on your race. Tears welled in her eyes. And because of that, I almost prevented you from stopping those terrorists. Yes, you did. I'm sorry. I know that's not enough, but I'm sorry. Marcus looked at her, really looked at her. He saw genuine remorse. But he also saw years of unchecked bias, of assumptions, of treating passengers differently based on skin color. How many others? He asked. What? How many other black passengers have you treated this way? How many have you assumed were in the wrong seats, or using fake tickets, or didn't belong? Jennifer looked away. I don't know. Yes, you do. She was crying now. A lot. Too many. I thought I was protecting the airline, making sure things were in order. But I was profiling people, harassing them, and I didn't even see it. Because you didn't want to see it. You're right. She looked at him. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know what happened today changed me. Seeing what my prejudice almost cost. I'm going to do better. That's not for me to judge, Marcus said. That's between you and every passenger you've wronged. Captain Morrison approached. Mr. Reynolds, Marshal Reynolds. The FBI wants to commend you. You prevented a catastrophe. Just doing my job, Captain. About what happened at the beginning of the flight. The captain looked at Jennifer. That will be addressed. Fully. Jennifer nodded. I'm resigning. Effective immediately. Jennifer, the captain started. No, I need to. I can't keep doing this job knowing what I've done. How I've treated people. She looked at Marcus. You deserve better. They all deserved better. Be honest. Would you have accepted her apology? Marcus thought about it. About the humiliation he'd felt. About the assumptions she'd made. About how close her bias had come to getting everyone killed. But he also thought about growth. About people changing. About second chances. I accept your apology, he said finally. But you need to understand something. Apologizing to me isn't enough. You need to examine why you made those assumptions. You need to confront your own bias. And you need to make sure you never treat anyone that way again. I will. I promise. Good. Howard Mitchell, The retired attorney who'd witnessed the initial confrontation approached with several other first-class passengers. "Marshal Reynolds, we all wanted to thank you. You saved our lives." "Just doing my job, sir." "And we also wanted to say what happened at the beginning of this flight was wrong. We saw it. We witnessed discrimination, and we should have done more to stop it." The older man's voice was heavy with regret. "We let it happen, and for that, I apologize." The other passengers murmured agreement. "A young black man shouldn't have to prove he belongs in first class," a white woman said. "You had a ticket. You were in your seat, and she treated you like a criminal. We saw it, and we should have spoken up more forcefully." Marcus nodded, accepting their words. But the story wasn't over yet. 3 days later, Marcus was called to FBI headquarters in Washington, D.C. He stood in a conference room with the director of the Federal Air Marshal Service, the FBI director, and several other high-ranking officials. "Marshal Reynolds, you're being awarded the Medal of Valor for your actions on Flight 447, the FAMS director said. "Your quick thinking and bravery prevented a terrorist attack that would have killed 187 people." "Thank you, sir. There's something else." The FBI director stepped forward. "We've been reviewing the surveillance footage from the flight, not just of the terrorist incident, but of the entire boarding and flight process." Marcus's stomach tightened. "We saw what happened when you boarded, how you were treated by the flight attendant, how you were publicly humiliated, accused of fraud, and threatened with removal, all because of the color of your skin." "Sir, let me finish." What Jennifer Walsh did was not just unprofessional. It was a violation of federal anti-discrimination laws, and it nearly compromised a federal agent's ability to do his job and protect American lives. The director pulled up a video on the screen. It showed the entire confrontation, Jennifer's accusations, her refusal to check the manifest, her treatment of Marcus. This video has been shared with Delta Airlines corporate office. Ms. Walsh has been terminated, not just for her resignation, but for cause. Delta is also implementing new anti-discrimination training for all flight crews. Additionally, the FAMS director added, "We're using this incident as a case study in our training programs to show how racial bias can compromise security operations." Marcus nodded, processing this. "There's one more thing," the FBI director said. "The 2 suspects you apprehended, they've been talking. They revealed that they chose Flight 447 specifically because they've been monitoring Federal Air Marshal patterns and believed there wouldn't be one on board." "How did they know?" "They had an inside source, someone who'd been feeding them information about which flights had Marshal coverage." Marcus's blood ran cold. "Who?" "We're still investigating. But your actions not only stopped a terrorist attack, they exposed a leak in our security system. You may have prevented multiple future attacks." And just when things seemed resolved, one final revelation emerged. 2 weeks later, Marcus received a call from an unknown number. "Is this Marcus Reynolds?" "Who's asking?" "My name is Dr. Saracen. I'm a psychologist who works with the FAA on diversity and inclusion training. I've been brought in to help develop new protocols for airline staff." "Okay. I've been reviewing what happened to you on Flight 447, and I wanted to ask if you'd be willing to participate in a video training module, to share your story, to help flight attendants understand the real-world impact of racial profiling." Marcus hesitated. "I don't know if I'm comfortable being the face of this." "I understand. But here's the thing. Your story matters. Not just because of the terrorism aspect, but because of what you experienced as a black man in America. You were treated as a threat before anyone knew you were a protector. That's a powerful lesson." Marcus thought about it, about the humiliation, about the assumptions, about how many other black men and women face the same treatment every day. "Okay, I'll do it." The video was filmed a month later. Marcus sat in front of a camera and told his story, the assumptions, the accusations, the humiliation. And then what happened after? The video became part of mandatory training for all Delta flight attendants. Then United, then American Airlines, then every major carrier in the country. It sparked conversations about implicit bias, about how assumptions can be deadly, about the need for systemic change. and it led to policy changes across the industry. But the impact that mattered most to Marcus came from an unexpected source. He received a letter from a young black man named Tell Washington. Dear Marshal Reynolds, I'm 17 years old. Last month, I was on a flight to visit my grandmother. I was in first class because my mom saved up to buy me a nice ticket for my birthday. The flight attendant questioned my ticket 3 times. She searched my bag twice. She treated me like I was a criminal. I felt ashamed. Like I didn't belong. Like I'd done something wrong just by existing. But then I saw your video in the news. I saw what happened to you. And I realized it wasn't me. It was her. Her bias. Her assumptions. Her racism. Your story gave me the courage to report what happened to me. And that flight attendant is now facing consequences. Thank you for speaking up. For not staying silent. For showing people like me that we do belong. Everywhere. Including first class. Tell. Marcus read the letter 3 times, tears in his eyes. This was why he'd agreed to share his story. 6 months after the incident, Marcus received another call. This time from Jennifer Walsh. Marshal Reynolds, I know I have no right to call you, but I wanted to update you on something. I'm listening. After I was fired, I went through intensive therapy. I worked with a racial bias counselor. I joined a group for people confronting their own racism. Her voice shook. I've been doing the work. The real work. Not just saying I've changed, but actually changing. That's good. I also reached out to every passenger I could remember profiling or treating differently. I apologized. Some accepted. Some didn't. Both responses were fair. Why are you telling me this? Because I wanted you to know that what happened on that flight, as terrible as it was, it woke me up. It made me confront something I've been denying my whole life. That I'm racist. That I've been hurting people. And that I needed to change. Jennifer took a breath. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know that your courage, standing up to me, maintaining your dignity, doing your job despite how I treated you, it changed my life. And hopefully, it'll prevent me from hurting anyone else. Marcus was quiet for a moment. I appreciate you telling me that. I'm also volunteering now at an organization that helps young black professionals navigate workplace discrimination. I share my story, not as a hero, but as a villain, as someone who inflicted that discrimination, to show people what it looks like from the other side. That's important work. It's the least I can do. After they hung up, Marcus sat with the call. He didn't know if Jennifer had truly changed. Time would tell, but he believed in second chances, in growth, in people confronting their demons and doing better. He also believed in accountability, and Jennifer was facing both. That evening, Marcus flew from D.C. to Atlanta. Commercial, first class. He wore jeans and a Howard hoodie, the same outfit from that day. As he boarded, the flight attendant greeted him warmly. Welcome aboard, sir. Seat 2A? Right this way. No questions, no assumptions, no profiling, just service. As he settled into his seat, the flight attendant brought him a glass of champagne. Thank you for flying with us today. Thank you. Marcus looked around the first-class cabin. He saw families, professionals, students, people of all races and backgrounds, all treated with the same dignity and respect. This was how it should be. This was what he'd fought for, not just stopping terrorists, but creating a world where a black man could sit in first class without having to prove he belonged, where dignity was a baseline, not something you had to earn, where assumptions didn't automatically equal danger. If only more people understood what Jennifer had learned too late. 1 year after the incident, Marcus was invited to speak at the FBI National Academy. He stood before a room full of law enforcement officers and told his story. I've been a federal air marshal for 13 years, he began. I protected thousands of passengers, prevented attacks, saved lives. But the hardest moment of my career wasn't facing down terrorists with a bomb. It was sitting in seat 2A while a flight attendant treated me like a criminal because of the color of my skin. The room was silent. That day taught me something important. The threats we face aren't always external. Sometimes they come from within, from bias, from assumptions, from people who see uniforms or badges or skin color and make judgment without facts. Jennifer Walsh saw a black man in casual clothes and assumed I didn't belong. She didn't check the manifest, didn't verify my ticket, didn't treat me as an innocent passenger. She treated me as a threat. And in doing so, she almost prevented me from doing my job, from identifying the real threats, from saving lives. Marcus paused, looking out at the audience. I'm not sharing this story to shame Jennifer. She's taken responsibility. She's doing the work to change. And I respect that. I'm sharing this story to remind all of you, everyone in this room who has authority, who carries a badge, who makes decisions that affect people's lives, that your biases matter. Your assumptions have consequences, and your blind spots can be deadly. We talk a lot about protecting people from external threats, but who protects them from us? From law enforcement officers who see black skin and assume danger? From flight attendants who see hoodies and assume fraud? From systems that treat some people as suspicious until proven innocent? The answer is, we have to protect them. We have to confront our own biases, check our assumptions, treat every person with dignity until they give us a reason not to. Because on Flight 447, there were two real threats, the terrorist with a bomb, and the flight attendant whose bias almost prevented me from stopping them. Both could have killed everyone on board. But only one claimed to be protecting people. Marcus stepped down from the podium to thunderous applause. Afterward, a young black FBI agent approached him. Sir, thank you for that speech. I needed to hear it. Why is that? Because I've been thinking about quitting. I'm tired of being the only black agent in my office. Tired of having my credentials questioned. Tired of being pulled over by cops who don't believe I'm FBI until I show my badge 3 times. The young man's voice shook, and I've been wondering if it's worth it. If I should just find a different career where I don't have to constantly prove I belong. Marcus put a hand on his shoulder. It's worth it. Not because the system is fair. It's not. Not because it's easy. It's not. But because we need you. Young black kids need to see agents who look like them. Victims need advocates who understand their lived experience. And the system needs people who push it to be better. But it's exhausting. I know. Trust me, I know. Marcus's voice was gentle. But you're not alone. There's a whole community of us fighting the same fight. And every time we show up, every time we do our job with excellence despite the obstacles, we make it a little bit easier for the next person. The young agent nodded, tears in his eyes. Thank you, sir. Thank you for staying, for fighting, for refusing to let them push you out. Marcus Reynolds' victory was more than personal. It reminded every black professional that dignity is non-negotiable, that excellence speaks louder than assumptions, and that the very people who doubt you might one day need you most. His story proved that heroism isn't just about stopping terrorists. It's about maintaining your integrity when someone tries to strip it away. It's about doing your job professionally even after being treated unprofessionally. It's about saving lives, including the lives of people who thought you didn't deserve to be there. Jennifer Walsh learned that biases aren't harmless opinions. They are dangerous weapons that can wound dignity and, in her case, nearly cost 187 lives. Her reckoning came too late for the passengers she profiled before Marcus, but her accountability created a blueprint for change. And the airline industry learned that diversity isn't about optics or quotas. It's about recognizing that the person you dismiss, demean, or discriminate against might be the very person who saves your life. Marcus still flies commercial, still wears hoodies and jeans, still sits in first class without apologizing for taking up space, because he belongs there. And every black mother, father, professional, and student who boards a plane deserves the same assumption of belonging, the same dignity, the same respect. Not because of what they do for a living, but because they are human. And that should always be enough.